Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Docs Huddle, your gateway to an in depth connection between sports medicine and the latest events in sports, fantasy, and betting. Today's show is brought to you by the Health and Wellness Depot. Unlock the power of well being. I'm Dr. Mikey B. With me today, Dr. MJB. CJ, the sports enthusiast, is off this evening. He might be making a surprise appearance later on. We shall see. He's out there saving the world. With that being said, MJB, this special Friday edition, we got a lot going on. Thursday football just ended. We got the rest of the football week coming up. Pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I like to think so. Being in Miami and moving up here to North Carolina, dude, I'm realizing that October is probably my favorite time of the year. The weather's changing, and you have baseball, football, and basketball at the same time. You can't beat it. You can't beat it.
No, get a little bit of everything.
Exactly. Speaking of baseball, I know baseball is big in the Northeast where you are, Mike, up there in Jersey. And a lot of people there typically root for the Mets and Yankees. So I'm curious to see what's going on in the baseball world and what are your thoughts on both those teams?
Yeah, absolutely. We're representing right now. It's been super exciting. I know that most people are either Mets fans or Yankees fans. I grew up as a Mets fan, but also rooting for both. I had the opportunity to go to a lot of Yankees games. Both of my uncles, big Yankees fans. So I root for the Yankees. The only time I don't is when they're playing the Mets. And I could have the best of both worlds and get to see a Subway Series this year. So super exciting. If you're watching a Mets game, it's like at any moment they can win or lose. You're on the edge of your seat. To see that both the Mets and the Yankees are the first two teams now to advance to the NLCS and ALCS respectively, it's something special. So I'm going to be rooting for them. Unfortunately, it's a good reason why I'm missing Sunday's first game against either the Dodgers or the Padres. We're going to find out shortly this evening on who they'll be playing, the winner of tonight's game. But I'll be at the Giants-Bengals game, so I won't be able to see the Mets game. But I'll be checking, and hopefully we're off to a good start there when we're playing on the West Coast in either LA or San Diego. So personally, me, I'm still, as a Mets fan, scared of the Padres. We historically don't play them very well. Their pitching is really, really good. So you call me crazy, where I feel almost more comfortable going up against Shohei Ohtani, which is the best player in baseball, and the Dodgers. But either way, I'm just excited to see what's to come. And I think that the Yankees, the road's been paved. They just got to get there. I mean, anything short of the World Series this year is a complete flop in my eyes. Like, this is it. I mean, their bats have just been cold. They just need to pick it up. Judge, if he can start picking it up, I don't think that they'll have an issue, and they should be able to make it to the promised land. So we'll see. Really exciting stuff.
Yeah. And then obviously with future shows, we'll tune in and kind of catch up and see how the Mets and Yankees are doing. And, with every other team in the baseball world, we'll do a brief catch up on that.
Absolutely.
Transitioning over until NFL Week 6 preview. Lots to talk about, man. It's a third into the season already, and we've had a lot of injuries. We've had some surprising teams coming out winning. Fantasy teams at this point, but we're trying to make things happen. Just briefly, do you have any takeaways for the first part of the season? Something that kind of shocked you at this point in time?
The Minnesota Vikings, for sure. I think that on this show, I have been pretty good with some of these predictions, with whether it's predicting injuries. I had the Kenneth Walker injury right. I had the Mark Andrews lack of production correct. I was probably one of the only people that saw that coming. I was so certain that, like, week one, the Giants were going to come out there and hand it to the Vikings. I've never been so wrong. And the Vikings are they're moving. And I think they're the biggest surprise. Another surprise, I'd say, the Jaguars still not having a win. It's killing me. I mean, they are a much better team than what their record shows. Is it really just the poor performance of Trevor Lawrence? I mean, he's not playing that bad. You're going to be winless. So I don't know. I'd say those two are the two biggest ones, and then I think that a lot of people are really shocked about the Jets. Now, I was shocked about the firing of Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, growing up and now being back, having moved back from Miami, now living back in the Northeast again. I'm no stranger to the Jets being terrible. It's just what I mean. It's not me hating on the Jets. It's just I root for the Jets now, right? Like even though I'm a Giants fan at heart, like I'm okay with them doing okay, but I don't know. For me, the Aaron Rodgers stuff, you don't know what he was going to look like, and hopefully they could turn around. I don't think the firing of Saleh is going to fix their problem. Maybe with the penalties and things like that over there with the Jets, but their offense there's nothing to do with Saleh. He's a defensive minded guy. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I knew he would be on the hot seat, right? Because last year they didn't have like the best season, but you attest a lot of that to Aaron Rodgers not being there. So my assumption was, okay, at least play out the season, and if the team just did not get better, because only a third of the season went by. So if you played out the season and things just did not improve, I get letting them go. But this early on, man, Aaron Rodgers isn't young. He's trying to win now. Like, to have a coaching transition at this point into the season, early on into the season at that, it's like, ooh, Jets like a dumpster fire at this point with all that going on. It was a bit surprising. I don't think anyone saw it coming unless you are inside the Jets organization. But as a fan, I was pretty shocked by it. But
I was seeing some stuff where people were saying that Rodgers might have something to have done.
So that's where I was going with it.
Yeah, okay.
So listen, I don't know if you remember years ago, dude, when we had a brief conversation. I don't know if it was while I was up there in Jersey or maybe you were coming to visit down here, but we were talking about Aaron Rodgers possibly being a diva.
Yeah, I remember this.
Not only coaches, but players have said that. So it made you question like, oh, okay, maybe. And then this happens. So it's like, oh, how much confirmation is shows with all that? Is it actually true that he's a big part of what's going on? And obviously, what else is he going to say when the media asks him, right? Like, you're going to deny it. No one's going to say, yeah, I'm the reason the coach got fired. Come on. Like, who's going to do that? So
take it easy.
So yeah, I thought that was, I think the whole situation itself is just, it's crazy. It's wild. I'm even hearing that they potentially could be in trades for Davante Adams. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, you're going to add more mess to what's already going on.
It's
crazy.
So obvious that they sold their soul, meaning that they did anything and everything that Aaron Rodgers wanted, assuming that he was the Messiah that's going to take them to the promised land. And the scariest part is their defense is still the strength and the backbone of that entire team. Their offense doesn't even have an identity.
No.
Breece Hall had better numbers last year with Zach Wilson as his quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. So what in the world is going on with the New York Jets? I don't know. I'm hoping, I was big on, statistics say when we get to the gambling portion, right? Like we talked about it a couple weeks ago when Bryce Young got benched on the Panthers. And then it's like, well, you bet on the Panthers because that means statistics say that if a major quarterback change or major coaching change is made mid-season, they statistically win.
Yeah.
And that quarterback or that coach has success the very next game. I can't even say that. I mean, they're playing the Bills this week. I don't know if I would take that bet.
Yeah, I agree. And then, as I mentioned, a third into the season, I guess my biggest shocker outside of the ones that you mentioned would be the Commanders, dude. What the world? Listen, it makes it hard to give a quarterback time when these guys are coming out and are studs, dude. Like, and we know exactly what I'm talking about, but it just, in the past, they would give quarterbacks a couple years to kind of, get acclimated to the league. And some rightfully still need that. But man, when you got some of these guys coming straight out the gate, just having phenomenal games and seasons early on, it does make you question some decisions that were made. But I think that Commanders, gave him good supporting cast. I think the coaching has been doing very, very well. I did think Jaden Daniel had promise coming to the league, but if you told me he was doing something like this, you call me a liar, because I wasn't buying into that. So yeah, that's one team that I'm extremely shocked by at this point.
For sure. And just one last thing on that note, I want your opinion. The Bryce Young scenario, right? This guy is now in his second year and he can't even throw the ball 10 yards. And then you got Jaden Daniels, who's played five games in his professional career, and he's playing like out there playing like Radon Randall. So it's like, I granted he's got Dan Quinn as the head coach, very, very successful head coach in this league. Then you have Cliff Kingsbury, who's supposed to be another stellar coach in the league and a quarterback mastermind, right? Pat Mahomes, Kyler Murray, he's the guy who helped bring these guys into what they are today. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with his early success, and Bryce Young wasn't provided that type of upbringing. However, like you said, I mean, that's a big difference.
Well, I'll tell you this, what you're noticing too, you don't trade the house away. Okay, you keep the house. Correct. You draft a quarterback and groom him. You trade the house away. You put everything on that quarterback to be successful. When he has nothing, these are the results you expect to see. So it's just one of those things. But moving along. All right, so let's keep the show going, and we're gonna go ahead and get into our doctor's rounds. Okay. Here in our show, we like to talk about the different injuries coming up into this week and how they can potentially impact certain games and teams. So we'll go ahead and pull that up and kind of show our injury update. Anything stand out to you here, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, my Lord, I hope I just. This is not just because I'm a Giants fan. It is because I'm one of the many fantasy owners who are struggling with injuries. I know I came out the gate playing fantastic. My team has been great and now just riddled with injury. Malik Neighbors, I was really hoping that he'd come back out of the protocol. Listen, I'm happy that he's not he was just ruled out today. He was questionable. He will not be playing Sunday evening against the Bengals in Sunday Night Football. I'm glad that they're not playing around with this. They're not like, oh, he might come back. No, he's out. He's not ready. He's not going to get through the protocol. He's out. He's got to get healthy. But he will not be playing Sunday, so that impacts the Giants. Many fantasy owners. He's been pretty much the top wide receiver in fantasy, which is insane. And then, I think another big one for me is the Derek Carr injury. I mean, not necessarily because of Derek Carr's fantasy production, but that's going to affect the receivers. They have a lot of good fantasy receivers there. Is Spencer Rattler really going to be intimidating? Right. And are we now going to have to worry about the deep ball like we were before? Is that even going to, not only is that going to impact the Saints receiving core, but is Alvin Kamara, who is questionable, by the way, but I do believe he'll play, and that's why he's not on that injury update. Are they going to be stacking 8 guys in the box, and now we're not going to be able to run the ball like prior to from the Saints offense? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually had a couple of these guys on my fantasy list. Didn't pan out. Devontae Adams, I think we are all aware of what's going on there.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah.
Hamstring. We'll
exactly.
We'll go with that.
That's what I was gonna say. Hamstrings. Who's also on my fantasy team and killing me right now. But
I did pick up Chase Brown a week ago. He's okay, but I think that him being questionable, I hope he does play because they're running thin at the running back position, so they definitely need him to suit up. I think Ramondre Stevenson, he was a name that I was hoping would kind of still be active and able to play because he started to get the bulk of the carries there in New England and was making really, really good runs and having really good games with him. So hopefully he gets back sooner than later. But yeah, just unfortunate for some of these guys because I think like a few of them were starting to get opportunities and now it's been pulled away. And it's like, darn, especially like a guy like Derek Carr, like you don't want to miss games knowing that you're trying to prove something and potentially paying for another contract. So
correct. No, I completely agree. And I mean, again, this injury report is most certainly not all encompassing, but it's like the more prevalent, more recent ones related to fantasy that we thought we'd bring up to everyone's attention. You got some key guys coming back. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith should be returning. They're both probable. So we'll see. Zach Moss on the Bengals. He's now moved to questionable, so we'll see. I'm not sold that he's actually going to play either. And if he does, is he going to have limited snaps? The Chase Brown one was just big for me because that came up literally yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He was healthy and he was going to be getting the start, and now he had the quad injury in practice. So now it's like, do they rush back Zach Moss because is he in better shape than Chase Brown? And they both play hurt, spinning carries. We don't know the severity of the quad injury. If you can not play Chase Brown this week in fantasy, that's probably a better move.
Yeah. Okay. So transitioning over to our next segment of the show, the roster triage, where we talk about potential fantasy players who should be start and players who should be seated. I'll go ahead and start first on this segment here. So I'm going to speak on this one because it has panned out for me the week prior. And for those people who are hesitant on picking up Trey Sermon, he's the backup to Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's missed a couple games now. So he gave me quality fantasy points last week. I think he's definitely a solid pick this week. I think he gave me like 18 points last week. So obviously, yeah, he's not going to replace Jonathan Taylor, but he is giving he is giving me some valuable fantasy points and keeping my team afloat. So I think he'll be a good sub in if you are looking for a running back to pick up and to replace Ramondre Stevenson, who we mentioned earlier in our doctor's rounds, who'll be missing this week's game. So
he's at Ohio State, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, man. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of those guys that got drafted that got drafted. Yeah, he got drafted back in like 2020. I think he was drafted by the 49ers. And then you didn't really hear anything about him. Mm-hmm. And I was waiting for this guy to be a stud. And then I just lost track of him. I didn't realize he ended up on the Colts. Nice find.
Yeah, listen, and trying to keep up with you guys in my league is tough. So when I saw he was still there, I was like, that must be a glitch on my ESPN fantasy app. And I was like, okay.
I dropped the ball. That's I feel like I don't do that often, but that's a miss on my part for sure. Great pickup, brother. That's a great one. I think the Ramondre Stevenson coming out is big. I mean, if you can get your hands on Trey Sermon, that's an easy start, clearly, with the production he's had and what he can do. Antonio Gibson, I think he's another one that, plug in. Similar to what I did here with mine. I mentioned the Malik Neighbors being out again, second straight week due to that concussion. Darius Slayton, he put up 18 points for the fantasy last week, and 18 points, and he was good. He's the number one target without Malik Neighbors there. He's going to get a lot of those targets. So I think that's another viable option. I think that they're going to go to him a lot again, especially with Neighbors out. And someone's opinion that I'd like to hear about this as well is CJ, the sports enthusiast. What's up, dude?
Can you guys hear me?
We absolutely can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
man. Have you on the show.
I'm just gonna improvise, and I think I know what you're talking about. DJ's connection to Darius Slayton.
That's it. We were talking about how Malik Neighbors is out for the second week, and talking about a roster triage, start him, sit him. Mine for the week was obviously sitting Malik.
I like the Darius Slayton play. They have been going to Wan'Dale Robinson a lot, but I think both those guys are going to get production for sure. New York Giants wideouts, man, they just got to keep catching the football. That's my only concern with them.
Yeah, they don't.
They're dropping between Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton. They've got some drops.
I think it was
So
like
it's
4 or
affecting
5 last
affecting
week.
DJ's numbers, so all the haters can keep hating, but it's not DJ.
You know, I saw a stat earlier in the week. You know that not only are DJ's numbers better than Trevor Lawrence. Do you know who? Take a guess. You're not going to get it right. Take a guess whose number currently going into week 6. Who else's numbers his are better than what quarterback?
Someone in our
staple quarterback.
division.
No. You'll never get for go. Yeah.
I mean,
I think
I'm
it
gonna
was-
say some
I think
crazy stuff. Mahomes,
was like in
I
the-
don't know.
After
I mean-
in the last 3 weeks,
The only reason I
numbers
made
are
the
better than Pat
statement
Mahomes.
is only because I have
Wild.
Mahomes in one of my fantasy leagues, and his production's been like
Garbage.
bare minimum.
I did not realize that Mahomes is having such a bad
I
year.
benched him. I put Baker
Yeah.
Mayfield in, and he's been going off for me.
Baker.
Baker.
Literally.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
the Chiefs' defense, but people don't want to say it, but that's what's carrying that team right now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I couldn't agree more.
All right. So transitioning to our next segment, we're going to talk about our Ducks prescribed parlays. Now, listen, I've been using different apps to do parlays. I think I found one that is going to take me home. Okay. I started using Prize Picks recently, and I was telling Dr. Mike earlier that Prize Pick has changed my life immensely. I've never won more parlays on any other app than I have the last 3 weeks combined.
Really? Is that a North Carolina thing, or what's that about?
No. Price Picks is all over. Obviously varies by states, but yeah, it's awesome because you get to choose different. It's unorthodox in a way, right? So you get to choose stats from within the first quarter. You get to choose someone going over or under fantasy points. You get to choose rushing receptions, rushing touchdowns, or receiving touchdowns kind of thing. So it has a lot of variety within the app. And the parlay that I chose for this weekend, I'll kind of show that so you can see what I'm talking about. I have Isaiah Likely to get over 6 fantasy points for the game. I think that's doable. Deontay Johnson to get over 7.5 receiving yards within the first quarter. He's the primary target for the Carolina Panthers. I can't see why he can't get one catch. And then same thing for Terry McLaurin. He just has to get one catch within the first quarter. I bet $20 on this, and I can easily make $100. So all achievable. What's cool too is that
Fantastic.
You also have a flex option with this. You can choose to get 2 out of the 3 correct and still make money. I think it's if you get 2 out of 3 correct, you get $40 instead of the $100. So either way, if you chose to play it safe, you can still make money because 2 of these for sure are going to hit. So yeah, if you guys aren't on Prize Picks yet, I highly encourage you to join.
Well,
it's an
I
easy
will
way to
say
make
this.
some money.
The Docs Huddle will be rendezvousing together up here in Jersey next weekend, and there will be a lot of conversing regarding this new betting platform. As New Jersey is the second to Vegas as the betting capital of the country, so we will be partaking in plenty of that next week.
Dude, when I tell you every time I put in a parlay, I probably put in 8 at this point. I hit for like 4 or 5. And I'm like, I've never felt like more of a winner than I do now after using Prize Picks, man. I promise you.
Bro, this guy, Prize Picks better hire you. This guy's a great ad for them. I mean, fantastic. I mean, talking about your parlay, I think it's great. I mean, I'm very excited. I've never personally done this. That's why I was so excited to bring this onto the show, because the idea of, get this in the first quarter, get that in the first quarter. In other platforms, DraftKings, FanDuel, they have something similar, but it's more like the first person to do this, or and the numbers are not as easily achievable, which
Correct.
I think is big. Like this is what makes it so enticing. So for those out there who have Prize Picks, this is a very appealing parlay. This is the Docs Huddle's prescription for Prize Picks this week. I think moving forward, we're going to be doing a lot more of these. So definitely tune into Prize Picks, and then we'll be doing other ones as well. But This is gonna be a hit, brother. I'm looking forward to making money.
If this doesn't hit, someone got hurt. That's the only way I could
Yeah.
not see this happening. Like either that or or I just have bad juju because it wouldn't make sense to me.
No, I think this is great. I do. I think that I think it's gonna hit.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into it. I'll check out Prize Picks.
Yeah, there we go.
So the other prescription we have made by Dr. Mikey B, and being that last prescription we made, there was a lot of player props. We, for those of you who took the bet, you would know that we missed by Dak Prescott not throwing for 4 more yards. It was beyond painful. This week, our Prize Picks has a couple of player props, as you saw. So we decided we're going to go with more of picking the money lines, the spreads, so on and so forth. So as a Giants fan, I hope I am wrong. I will lose my $10 if the Giants could win. However, Daniel Jones has not thrown a touchdown at home in over one, in I think we're going on almost 2 seasons. And the Giants have not won on prime time, I believe, since 2015 with Eli Manning. Therefore, until it is done, and I hope, because if you're fact checking me, please do, but I believe this is what I heard earlier in the week. So therefore, I'm taking the Bengals money line until the Giants can get it done. I don't believe it's going to happen on prime time. And the Bengals are due for a win. Joe Burrow put up 5 touchdowns last week and still lost. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau is out. He just had scaphoid surgery, which Mike, you and I know that's not a good surgery.
No,
they're playing light of this. They're saying he's only going to be out for a few weeks. I'm a little concerned. That was news earlier in the week. We didn't mention that earlier on our injury report because it doesn't necessarily impact fantasy. But when it comes to our parlay, it does, and that's concerning. Hopefully, Azeez Ojulari will be able to continue to apply pressure in his absence. But it's not the pass rush that I'm concerned with. It's actually the run-stopping capability of Kayvon Thibodeau. So we'll see how that plays out. But I'm taking the Bengals money line. Bills -2.5, taking the spread over the Jets. Like I said earlier, I know they made the coaching change. I don't give a shit. Bills are going to win. They're going to cover. They're going to win by at least a field goal. Jaguars against Chicago. Listen, gentlemen. Jaguars are due for a win. They don't have a win yet. And people are saying there's no way they're going to beat the Bears in Chicago. It ain't in Chicago. The Jaguars play their best ball in London, and that's where this game is taking place. Jaguars win money line. They play lights out in London. And lastly, we spoke about it earlier. Jaden Daniels, phenomenal. Going against my man who's the MVP in Lamar. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. We spoke about it off air. I believe that this game is over. The over was 51.5. Take the over. I think that this is going to be a very fun and exciting game. $10 wins you 112. What do you guys think?
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
I do too.
I can totally see the Jags beating the Bears. I can see that.
In London too. I mean, it's like the writing's on the wall.
That.
Yeah.
You know, I think the biggest risk on this is the over, but unless both teams don't show up, I think that I think you got to outscore the other opponent to win this game. I don't think it's going to be the defenses that win you the game. I think it's going to be the offenses personally. So that's why I think the over was the smart pick here.
Yeah, that's the only one I was concerned about. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it'll be a high scoring game between Washington and Baltimore.
I hope so.
All right. So,
yeah, I actually do think that's going to be a shootout too. But yeah, I think it's going to turn into one.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, you know, the writing's on the wall now. It's just got to get done
for sure.
You know.
Yeah. Transition over into our last segment of the show. We have our 2-minute drill.
Yes.
Okay. So as we've done in the past, I'm going to go ahead and shout out the winners that I think are going to happen this week. I have not looked at these teams yet. So I'm finding out just as you guys are. And I have 2 minutes to make my picks. Have I been successful in the past? Oh, somewhat, but this is why we do it, right?
That's it.
Listen, at this point in the season, I know more than I did the week before. So that should be telling. I mean, it's still a gamble in the air, but that's all we can do. All right. So
all we can do. With that,
and we'll have that timer up.
Yes, and give me one moment here. We're gonna unmute the timer. All right, when you're ready, and you're on the clock.
All right, first one easy. We're taking Jacksonville over the Bears in London. We all agree on that one.
Damn right. Next
one, I'm going Green Bay over Arizona. I'll take, and both teams are not good. I'll do Tennessee over the Colts. I'll have Houston over the Patriots. I'm taking the Bucks over the Saints, especially with Derek Carr being out. I think Philly gets back on track over Cleveland. I'm taking. Man. You know what? I think Washington continues their streak, and I think they come up with an upset over the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, sir. Let's keep the party going. I have the Chargers over the Broncos. I'll take Pittsburgh over Las Vegas. Oh, this is a good game right here.
That is.
I'm going to take Detroit over Dallas. I'm going to take the Falcons over the Panthers. And then, sorry, boys, I'm taking the Bengals over the Giants. And then to wrap things off, I'm going to take the Bills over the Jets. What do you guys think?
Well done with 33 seconds left to spare.
Yeah, I mean, I like most of them. I think Baltimore's going to win, though. That's my biggest change. I don't think that
-7 on the spread.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar, but living out in the DMV area, they call it the Battle of the Beltway because they're 45 minutes away. So it's the Battle of the Beltway, and see who takes the cake with that. But I think it's gonna be really hard for Washington to walk into Baltimore and beat them. I don't know. I know they're hot. I know they're moving the ball. I know they're putting up a lot of points, but it's gonna be tough.
So, if I remember, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember, you were teaching me about some of this. So, the Battle of the Beltway, this must be one of the most significant games when they play one another, and they're doing this in Baltimore. And when Baltimore loses any random game, they call it Bloody Sunday. Correct?
I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Oh, you didn't tell me that? I learned this recently.
No,
so if Baltimore loses, and we know it's Baltimore. So if Baltimore loses, I hear that it's called Bloody Sunday. And so if they lose the Battle of the Beltway at home, oh my Lord. But that's interesting. That's interesting. Mike, I got to go with Christopher on this. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens. They are -7 with the spread. I'm not saying they're going to cover the spread, but I am saying they're going to get the win.
Okay. That's fair. What other games are you guys, or is that you?
So I'm starting something new without telling you guys. I got a little Word doc here, and I wrote down every team that MJB said, and I love the pick. So we're gonna revisit this.
Yes,
going forward, but I like your picks. I really do. I wish there was more for me to give you a hard time at, but I do like your picks.
I like the picks.
I think the bold one is Detroit over Dallas. I think they can get that win.
I'm going to go with an upset. I'm taking the Broncos.
Ooh.
They're at home. Bo Nix is coming into his own. They're hot right now.
Their defense is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. LA, the Chargers, they're playing good, but I'm thinking the Broncos are going to get the upset here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my guess.
I could be done. That was a hard game for me to decide on. That one, I'm like, I can keep going back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for our episode, our Friday special. Very happy that CJ the Sports Enthusiast could make his guest appearance on today on today's show, as it was unplanned.
Like a wrestling match.
Yeah. So we're happy about that. We want to thank everyone for tuning in to today's show. We'll be tuning back in next week on Wednesday. Until then, everyone enjoy the week. And for CJ the Sports Enthusiast, Dr. MJB, I'm Dr. Mikey B. See everyone next week.